everybody. Glad you're here. This is the Chase Squirrelson Show, and I'm your host, Chase Squirrelson. And if you're listening right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Today's episode is one of those conversations that starts simple and then goes somewhere interesting. So let's jump in. Welcome back to the Chase Squirrelson Show. I am thrilled to be with you today, and I'm hoping that you'll be entertained and educated in the world that people like me live in. ADHD is a spectrum, though. We're not all the same. Autism is a spectrum, and there's people that are extremely high functioning. Matter of fact, NASA's filled with people with Asperger's syndrome. And ADHD is also a spectrum. And what's interesting is ADHD can be spotted at a very young age. Kids who are having problems in school. Today, some people now are aware of ADHD versus when I was a kid, we just had ants in our pants and we got detentions and everything else. So what I would like you to get out of these podcasts is some enjoyment, some humor, and some education, and a chance for you to share your stories. That's the most effective thing for all of us, is that we know we're not alone. We're not alone. And yet we are a minority in this society, even more severe maybe than the number of left-handers versus right-handers. We don't have neurotypical brains, meaning the vast majority of people are not like us. We're in a relatively small minority. So we need to help each other. We need to help the people who love us understand us better. We do all kinds of things. I do all kinds of things. I have a couple good friends that are very severely ADHD like me. Last year, one of them did this. He went to a car wash. He had a Jaguar. He went into the car wash. The car wash required you to put your car in neutral, and it'll take you through the car wash. His wife was going into labor, and he needed to get home quickly. So he drove his car through the car wash, breaking all the paddles, the brushes and everything, and just destroyed the car wash. Basically, drove right through it. Now, he actually runs a sizable company. He's a very successful man. And he destroyed a car wash because he didn't read the sign that's saying what you're supposed to do. Most people might think, he's got to be crazy. And I go, that could have happened to me. Or anything like that. Reading directions is not something I do, and that's not something many of us do. When there's instructions to put something together, my worst nightmare is something arrives at my house requiring me to put it together. Two things will happen. I'll try to do it and give up, or I'll leave it in the basement in the original package and it'll be there for years. And so that's the unfinished buying things that I don't need or can't possibly put together. And of course, it's normal for me. And one of the things that I would really like to impart to those of us that have ADHD, and for those of us that take care or love some of us, is to be kind, because in a lifetime, for someone my age, the numbers would be in the hundreds of thousands of negative things that have been said to me about what I've done, mistakes I've made, volumes of you should have done this, or why did you do this, or on a test, imagine getting a 0 on a test where I answered them all correctly, but I circled instead of underlining the right answer. Our education system shouldn't do that. I got an A on that paper. Not an F, but they gave me an F. The idea of being kind to a person like me or us is we've had so much of this negative feedback that I know I'm overly sensitive to criticism. I take it personally. I feel bad. My girlfriend has been wonderful. She understands me now, so she's gentle about feedback. She'll even say those words, "Are you open to some feedback about something that I'd like to understand?" It's gentle. And the way she does it, we laugh about some of the things I do. We just laugh. I wasn't capable of laughing about those things years ago. I wasn't. But therapy, study, having an ADHD coach, I'm now learning to say that's what an ADHD person does. I give myself a break. And so I'll laugh. I've never been able to laugh at some of these things. I've always been humiliated by the mistakes that I can make. I mean, I make some really bad ones. Not too long ago, I called a person to wish them happy birthday and I hope they have a very enjoyable party tonight. But if I had carefully read the directions, I would realize it was a surprise party and they're not supposed to even know about it. So I blew the guy's surprise party. Thankfully, he said, look, I'll pretend like it's a surprise. Don't worry, because I didn't want to be responsible for ruining his birthday party. But why not read the whole damn invitation? One of the tips that I can give is we, or I, do not have the luxury of not looking at my calendar. I don't have that luxury. It's very easy for me to skip a lunch. Very easy for me to get the day wrong. Very easy for me to forget that it's somebody's birthday. I need to print the night I go to bed. I look at the calendar for the next day, so I'm ready. Maybe there's something I need to print out. Maybe there's something I need to do. I don't have the luxury of just relying on remembering something. I don't have that. So in the morning, where I get ready in the morning in my washroom, I have the calendar sitting there, and I can look at it and say, okay, here's what's coming for me today. Also, if I don't look the night before, I might not set the alarm, and I need to get up at a certain time. So preparing the night before is critical for somebody like me so that I don't rely on memory, because I could be thinking about anything else. I have to remember that an electrician is coming tomorrow, so somebody better be home. Somebody might think, well, that's normal. You have an electrician coming. Not for me. Not if somebody calls up and said, we need a fourth for pickleball. I'm out the door. But what about the electrician? Well, I'll find out later on. I'll also pay the $150 fee for not being there. So the idea of relying on my memory is not something that I can afford to do or I have the luxury of doing. Of course, I can remember what happened in Game 3 of the 1984 Cub playoffs against San Diego. I can remember what the eighth inning was like. But why can I remember that, but that I don't have a dentist appointment tomorrow? So that's what it's like to be me. So relying on memory is risky for someone like us. So the idea of night prep for the next day is very, very important. But getting back to, and I am going off all directions, getting back to be kind to your loved one with ADHD. We are so sensitive to criticism because we have been beaten up with it for most of our lives. Let's say somebody fumbled something in a kitchen, but he's left-handed. You would understand that, oh, that was a difficult thing for a left-hander to do, and you wouldn't be very tough on him. We are wired differently, and we can make mistakes that are because we're just not designed to do certain things at certain times. And a person who loves us or cares about us will be gentle about reminding us. The other day, my girlfriend had a Roomba running. I didn't even know what a Roomba was till I met her, but a Roomba is running in the basement. I hear this loud sound. It didn't sound right. So I went down there, and I had not, as she had asked me to, she'd asked me to draw the drapes down so that the strings go up. Well, the strings were laying on the floor, so the Roomba was chewing them up. And she knew that she said, I don't remember, honey, but you can't leave anything on the floor that, and, other than saying, that's stupid. My father would call me, there's an Italian phrase called stunad, and that means you're stupid. And that's something he used quite a bit. And I'm sensitive to that, although I'm an adult now and I now can ignore it. I know how to do that. We are prone to make mistakes just because we're not listening or we weren't paying attention. Although I'm working on that, being with people who understand. My ex-wife, that's probably why we're ex, is I told you that. And I was never diagnosed. Don't you remember I told you that? I'm sure she did. But if I'm not in the moment and I'm thinking about Did the 17-year locust come this year or next year? When she's telling me to pick up the kids. But that happens to me. Or maybe go pick up the kids, but I'm going to the wrong place to pick them up because I'm not listening. Or even if I listen, I don't retain it very long because I get distracted. So these are things to do. There's little helpers that we can do. I don't want to call them crutches. If I had a sprained ankle, nobody would say, "Oh, you wimp, you're on a crutch. You got a sprained ankle, so grow up." No, you wouldn't. You'd understand that that person needs a crutch. I need reminders. I need to put Post-it notes on things, especially things that are, if I'm going to visit my grandson, there might be 3 or 4 things that I bought for him that I keep forgetting to bring over there. So put a Post-it note up on the door. I used to think that's cheating. No, it's not. It's something that an ADHD person needs to do. But there's a lot of good in having ADHD. There's a lot of funny stories. There's ideas that I can come up with, don't seem to be connected with anything rational. I'm giving up on trying to master things I wasn't good at. And let me explain that. I always identified myself as stupid because I wasn't good in math and science. I always said, okay, I'm stupid. No, I'm not. I'm not alone. There are many people not good at math and science. What I am good at is anything to do with vocabulary. I even took a Mensa test one time. No, I'm not a Mensa. But there's 5 categories in the test. One of them is vocabulary. I tested in Mensa category for vocabulary. And I found out that that's the first measure of intelligence is vocabulary. I thought it would be math or science. No. Do you know what a boost that gave me? I don't feel stupid. I'm actually gifted at something. So in school, certain things resonated with me that I never forget. But if you ask me to decline verbs in Latin, oh my God, I couldn't be less interested. I mean, when am I going to speak Latin? When am I going to learn when I need to speak Latin anywhere? So some of the things that I was labeled as stupid, I will tell you this, and it's embarrassing to me, but I had a freshman year in high school that I was emotionally in a very bad place having to do with some family issues. And teachers today should be aware. I went from a student that was always B's and A's that year getting D's and F's, and I'm being very transparent and honest with you. I went from a very good student to getting D's and F's. The teachers would write on my report card, "He's not trying." That couldn't be further from the truth. I was in bad shape, and my ADHD was probably maxed out at that point. I'm in a classroom supposed to pay attention to algebra, and I'm trying to think about what's going on at home. And some neurotypical people, most of them compartmentalize things and say, okay, I'm in school right now. I'll worry about that later. I'm not capable of that. I was not capable of that. So the education system I've talked about before is not designed for us. Teachers should not be labeling somebody, he just doesn't pay attention. He's not trying hard enough. If someone tells me to lift a 500-pound boulder and I don't do it, it's not because I'm not trying. I can't. So there's so much to learn, but there's so much enjoyment because my ex-wife, I asked her, why didn't you want to divorce me sooner? And she said, because it was like living with Seinfeld. So she had a lot of fun with my behaviors. ADHD can be funny, it can be frustrating, it can be fascinating, it can be inspirational. It's something that I don't think I would trade. I don't think if someone said you can become neurotypical, you have to give up being ADHD, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I'm learning to like myself the way I am and trying to minimize the damage I can do when I'm not paying attention. I also need to stop trying to prove something. For example, since I wasn't good in math and science, I suppose I could take some math and science courses right now to prove that I'm not stupid. Why would I waste my time taking elementary algebra right now? First of all, I don't need it. And I don't now need to prove that I'm smart, that I'm intelligent. So trying to learn, like, I guess I could take typing classes to type faster on a computer. Well, why not use the voice activation thing? Give myself a break. I'm a senior citizen, and there's some things that either are too late to try to learn or I don't want to learn. So I have that luxury. For example, the delivery of the dog food comes in a frozen, it comes in a dry ice. It comes packed in dry ice. The thing is, you do have to eventually bring it in from outdoors. So it can be something that's been there for 3 days, and so all the dog food is ruined. So those are the kinds of things that can happen to me, and there's ways of getting around it. But when you're with a partner, your partner knows that you're likely to forget it, and she'll help you or he'll help you. Other things I can do is get so distracted that I'll go off onto some kind of hunt for some information that really isn't important. For example, if I'm reading a book, the thought will come to me, am I reading fast enough? I'll go, wait a minute, I want to see how fast I'm reading. So I'll go off and find a website that tests your reading speed. And then I'll find out that I'm reading at X number of words per minute, which of course isn't good enough for me. Another side, and this is the way my podcasts are going to be, my father had a saying that really had a profound impact on me, and I didn't understand it till now. His favorite saying, or one of them, was, you don't want to be average. Because if you're average, it means you're the lousiest of the best and the best of the lousiest. So being average at something is bad. What does that do to a person with ADHD? The worst thing it does is you don't try something because you might fail or you might be average. And I was told that average is bad. And so it might keep me from taking dancing lessons. It might keep me from learning how to snowboard. It might keep me from taking a comedy class at Second City because I might embarrass myself. And so with ADHD and all the negative criticism I've received in my life, I'm very adverse to being humiliated or embarrassed. It's a real sensitive area for me. And I have to get over that. If I go to a dancing class, am I supposed to be Fred Astaire? No, I'm supposed to learn steps. Maybe I'll forget a couple. Maybe I'll do this or that. If I go and I finally did this, I was very afraid of being embarrassed. I have a comedic vein in me that someone said, why don't you go to Second City and take a couple classes? And so I went and I took an improv class at Second City. And I enjoyed it. It's not for me. Improv really wasn't for me. It was a very young group, and I really wasn't really hip on a lot of the terminologies and sayings of the day. But I did it, and I found out that I wasn't any worse than anybody else. Everybody was learning it. There were a couple of people there that were excellent at it. But I learned improv, and I didn't embarrass myself necessarily. I was new just like everybody else. So I'm now more prone to try things than I used to be. But this feeling of embarrassment, shame, it's attached to the kind of feedback I'll use I and we interchangeably, received throughout our lives because we made mistakes, because we weren't paying attention, or the environment we were in was not conducive for learning for us. And so now I give myself a break. Yes, where is my iPhone? I don't say, you stupid idiot. I don't know where it is because I didn't put it where I'll remember. Now, one of the tips I have is I almost never put my iPhone anywhere except a couple of places. I never put my car keys anywhere except a certain place. My keys are always in a certain place. I'll bet you I spend an hour a week looking for things. I'm spending less now. I don't have the luxury of putting my car keys down next to the refrigerator. I mean, I'll be looking for those for maybe 20 minutes. So learning that there's certain disciplines that I have to have. I don't have the luxury of remembering where I put something if it's not where it's supposed to be. And so, finding a couple months ago, I found a jar of peanut butter in my place where I keep my tools. what the heck is peanut butter doing in there? Well, I was carrying the peanut butter around with me, and went for a Phillips screwdriver and ended up putting down the peanut butter. And now I have another jar of peanut butter because I lost it. Now I found this. It wasn't very good, too, because the cap was a little loose, so there was mold in it. So, but to me, why is peanut butter in the toolkit? Why is my iPhone in the refrigerator in the bar downstairs? That happened to me one time where I was reshuffling bottles in the refrigerator and I put the phone down in the refrigerator. So you know how long that took to find? So thank God I have a partner who looks in the most unlikely places for my stuff and finds them. Driving off, putting on something the top of my car and driving off without putting it back in the car is something I do many times. Thank God I never put one of the kids on the top of the car in a car seat, because it's very likely I could have drove off with a kid on the top of the car. But now I'm not calling myself stupid. I'm laughing and saying, ADHD. And I now say, well, Chase is involved again. And I said that Chase did it, and it's a laugh. And giving myself a break like that is stopping that flogging myself that I used to do. And I can laugh about it. So being kind to myself is something new to me. And being kind to your loved one or your friend with that ADHD is so important. And if you really care about them, you're helping them with this challenge, especially when they share with you that I've got a coach and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. They'll try to help you. They'll bend over backwards and they'll be gentle. My girlfriend says, "Are you open to feedback?" That's how she starts a criticism. And it's a loving thing to do. And I feel so less burdened by having ADHD. I also we need to forgive ourselves for the volume of mistakes we made. They weren't intentional. They weren't something that we shouldn't have done, because with what we had to work with at the time, that's what we did. And education system has gotten better. I'll never forget this. In first grade, we were learning how to tell time. Of course, that's before digital, so this is a clock with hands on it. And the teacher gave us a little exercise in class, a test to see how we were doing. And at that time, I was thinking about trying out for a baseball team for that age at that time. And I was thinking about, will I make the team? And she was giving directions. So we started, and I didn't hear what we're supposed to do. So I looked at the paper of the girl next to me. And the nun shouted out my name, said, "You are cheating." And she marched me up to front of the class at first grader and sat me in the garbage can in front of the room. I was so small that I almost completely went into the garbage can for cheating. And I wasn't cheating. All I wanted to know was what the assignment was. Now, today, a teacher would probably get arrested for that. That thank God the system has changed where that kind of punishment would be a crime. But that stayed with me my whole life. And it caused me to be very shy in school and not volunteer for anything. I remember the children laughing at me in the garbage can. And part of me knew I wasn't cheating. I knew it was unfair. I knew that. But I never told my parents, ever told my parents. And today, your parents' first phone call would be a lawyer for something like that. So ADHD was unrecognized and not treated well. And to this day, classes are not still designed for us. I'd like to be able to move around during a lecture, but I'm sure that might not be permitted. But I learn better when I'm in motion. Maybe that's not an accommodation that people would be willing to make. So when I'm sitting in a lecture somehow, it's a tremendous challenge for me to pay attention for 45 minutes, unless it's something really interesting. It is what it is, but knowing what I'm dealing with today is a big help, and associating with people that understand me. And this podcast, yes, I enjoy the hell out of doing this. I really do. But if I can make a difference. If somehow this show can help somebody else, especially shortening the learning curve for people like me, I hope some young people are listening because it could relieve them of a lot of pain and suffering because of how society will treat us. Are we victims? No, we're not victims. We're responsible for our behavior. But maybe this can be a shortcut for some of us to get the help we need, whether it's a coach, whether it's reading some really good books on the subject. There are some tremendous books, and I will, in future episodes, I'm going to inform you or I'll tell you what some of those books are that have made a difference for me. So helping other people help themselves is something that is really important to me. So one thing I want to leave you with, call it the tip of the day. If you do nothing else from now on, be kind to yourself. You are not stupid. You are not lazy. You are not irresponsible. You are living in a world that wasn't designed for you. And you're coping, you're trying to get along in this world. And there is so much available today for you to get help. But you are not stupid. You are not irresponsible. You are not lazy. Do not say those words to yourself. Laugh at yourself, give yourself a funny name, and say, oh, that's my ADHD. I say to myself, oh, Chase is back, and I laugh. And that will do so much healing for you. This has been Chase Squirrelson, and I look forward to hearing from you and talking to you next week. If this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who'd get it. You can follow the show so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you feel like it, a quick rating helps the show a great deal. Either way, I appreciate you being here. We'll talk soon.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. The content reflects personal experiences and opinions and is not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, mental health, or legal advice. Flint Rock LLC, the hosts, and guests make no representation or warranties and assume no liability for decisions or actions taken based on this content. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your own situation.